Hi, welcome to another episode of the Sankofa Pan African series. This episode will focus on Africa and the African diaspora against a backdrop of science and technology. For instance, what is the fourth industrial revolution? How is it affecting Africa and the African diaspora? To help us answer some of these questions, is a young woman who I admire greatly. Her Excellency Makeda Antoine Cambridge was born in the southwestern part of Trinidad. She holds a BSc in Computer Information Systems and General Business from Andrews University and an MSc in Management Research from the University of Bradford. She also has an MBA from Andrews University. She is the managing director of Genesis International Limited and has over 20 years of experience in information and communications technology, negotiating large scale telecom deals in North and South America, Africa, the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and the Caribbean. She has served her country, Trinidad and Tobago, as the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Austria and Italy. She was also the ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations and specialized agencies in Europe. Welcome, Madam Makeda Antoine Cambridge. Let's get to know you a bit better. Tell us a bit about your background.
I am Makeda Antoine Cambridge, former ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago to the United Nations, Geneva, as well as specialized agencies across Europe. That was my last posting that ended earlier this year. And I think what makes it useful for this conversation, I come from the field of information, communications, and technology. For the last 21 years, that has been my specialty. And I come from very humble background, very humble beginning. My mother was a homemaker, a cook and a maid who made the delicacies to sell to help us pay for our bills. My father was a subcontractor, a painter, working class, humble people who believed in investing in a spiritual foundation in their children and had a work ethic like no other, who believed in God and believed that you work your butt off and good things will come to you. I'm accustomed in the world of technology being the only woman, sometimes the only Black woman in an entire conference or the only Black woman in a room. Sometimes when there are global conferences, I'll meet my brothers and sisters from West Africa, East Africa. But you do find the percentage of women in the field of ICT is, I think it's 3% for Black women in the US and 11% for women of color. So the percentages are very small because you find traditionally women do not choose science, technology, engineering, and math.
How did you get involved with science and technology?
Before I answer that, I just want to add, I feel being of African descent, you grow up knowing your people, your story, how you got to the Caribbean. You've made your island your own. But even growing up, whenever there was World Cup, my father supported Cameroon, he supported Ivory Coast, you name it, we supported it back. And I remember when I traveled to Ivory Coast, some of the vendors were like, I know you, Dwight York. I'm like, oh, okay, because they know our athletes. So I realized it's two ways connection. And I really, really feel special about that because one of my job opportunities, I lived in the UAE for almost 3 years. I was fortunate to travel through Mother Africa. At least 22 African countries I've been to. To experience from Morocco to Mozambique, from Senegal to Cameroon. I mean, just unbelievable to see the uniqueness, yet the differences of our one people. How did I get there? My mother said I was always a stubborn child. I didn't always know what I wanted, but if I know I do not want to do it, do not force me. I was one of the brighter children in my high school, and they had this rule that you had to do sciences, and everybody wanted me to be a medical doctor, and I'm like, not me at all. I want to do business. And my principal said, no, you cannot do that. You the top 5 brightest child, you go into the science class. And I negotiated with my principal and I said, okay, so can I do the business subjects on my own? And you just let me write the exam. And he looked at me and said, nobody does 10 subjects in the school. Why do you want to do this? I said, I just want to do it. I believe this is where I'm called to do it. Long story short, he let me do it. When I finished, I did business and sciences and graduated as the most outstanding business student, even if I was not a business student in its right sense. Coming out of that experience, I met my girlfriend, Hazel and Bob. We had finished A-levels. Money was a problem. Going to university was just a dream because you grew up in that kind of lack of resources. So you don't have money automatically to go to university. That's for wealthy people. That's what you socialize to believe. And my girlfriend, she started doing a program in information technology. And I said, how did you do that? She said, well, I'm doing it part-time. And I said, really? She said, I think you should do this. And you are better than this than me. Mathematics was always your thing. And I said, okay, found out about it, started the program, Information Systems, University of London part-time, ended up excelling in the class for the first year, transferred to another university. And that was it. That was it. I found out that it was something that I loved. It's a combination of business and math and science. And that has been it. I stayed, I did my bachelor's, I graduated magna cum laude. I pursued that field. I remember even when I finished university in 2002, it was around the dot-com bust time. Mm-hmm. So there were very few jobs. And so many of my peers, girls and boys, decided they're going to leave the field and take jobs anywhere. And I remember saying to a friend, I am the first person in my family to have a degree. I did not go to school to get this piece of paper to not work in the field. I am waiting till my job gets there. Yes, that's my stubbornness again. And so that God opened doors, and eventually I worked my way up: programmer, systems analyst, database administrator, program manager, project manager. And that is how I started in the field of ICT.
Wow. You're great. So admirable. Most girls would have said, oh, I don't have the money to go. Not just girls, most young people would have said, oh, I don't have money to go into university anyway, and then giving up on that dream. I'm so glad that you stuck by it.
I am too.
So now you have your degree, and so you started out professionally. What kind of challenges did you come across as a woman of color? In your field, and what kind of challenges did you come across professionally?
As I shared earlier, when I finished my degree, 2002, 2001, it was the time of the dot-com bust. So most of the technology jobs were not available. Most of the online companies had started and failed. So there were very few opportunities, and people were quite cautious about investing in technology at that stage. You had the occasional computer literacy course, you had some people doing investing in the technology, investing in the training, but it was quite limited. So for a very long while, 6 to 9 months, you had unemployment. That was the first challenge. You did not have vacancies in your field, and you felt as if there were jobs, it was being influenced by nepotism. You're not in a circle, so the opportunities are not going to come to you. Who are you? You didn't come from anybody in your family has done that before. You have no contact. So that was the first challenge. How do I get in that door? How did I address that? I think I sent out like 100 CVs, went into the library, did my CV, copied, brown envelope. Probably everybody, every company you could think of, large, private, public, you name it, I applied to. And then I started just applying for all the jobs on the papers. Qualified, overqualified, underqualified, I did not care. And my uncle came home one day and he said, hey, I think this job is for you. Applied for it, and that was the beginning. Program analyst at one of the larger insurance companies. And once I got into the field and to the world of work at this professional level, you experience this sexism. Because you're nearly the only woman, or might be 2 or 3 of us. And those who've been there before may not have been so comforting and warm to include you in their circle that they have created, because they might see you as competition because you're a little bit quicker and you're a little bit sharper and you're a little bit too willing to take up opportunities that they might say, oh, let the boys do it. So you did find some sexism coming in, and not just from the men treating you as if, yeah, you know how to program, but you're not that good. But what I liked with that first company, they were all about merit. If you got the highest score in the interview, that got you in the door. I remember the guy saying, you sure you didn't get this exam before? How did you score so high? Because there's this perception that you're female, so this is not you naturally. So definitely working my butt off, excelling more than anybody could have imagined, just kept you relevant. And the sexism was not from the men thinking, you're not that good, or from the woman thinking, who you think? You have to pay your dues, slow down, wait your turn. And there was racism as well. I do come from a multicultural country, but I lived in Jamaica as well as the UAE. So you find you're the only black woman. Yeah, there might be typically, I tend to say telecom is, I worked in telecom is like a man's world or a white man's world. So even if you're a woman and you're qualified, you're a black woman. To them, you who's you? Like, what are you even doing here? I remember negotiating a very major deal for my company. Walked into the mobile operator, I wouldn't even call their name. And the guy said, where's the director? What are you, secretary? To my face. I just smiled. We negotiated the deal. This was a very difficult deal that we've been trying to close for 9 months. Afterwards, call my director on the phone. Can we keep her? We haven't found anybody like her. I mean, I just laughed. He became my friend after. But his first perception is like, who is this little girl?
You had to
Another challenge. Correct. Another challenge I had was ageism. You know, they say black don't crack, so I look so much younger than I am.
You do.
Yeah, so they're like, why are you the head of the delegation? Why are you leading this negotiation? Because one of my jobs, I was the face of the company to all international negotiations. You named it, from all the mobile operators, from Rogers in Canada to AT&T in the US to Vodafone in the UK, you name it. I was the lead negotiating. And people were like, what is this child? Because it's generally men. You're sitting across men or white men, and they're looking at you like, do you even know what you're doing? And I love that company. That company believed in me. That company said, go and show them how it's done. I just love them because they just took this little nobody, saw my giftedness and said, we will work you. Even when I was doubting myself, even when I was saying, you sure you don't want to send somebody with me? Are you sure you want to give me that job? They were like, yes, you have what it takes. You will get it done. So those are some of the challenges, and you'll find, like anything in life, there will be challenges.
And what kinds of challenges are young people of African descent who are trying to enter into various fields of science and technology likely to face today? Please join me next time on the Sankofa Pan-African series. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not already done so. Like our videos and share with your friends.